It was 1 week ago today. A Metro officer opened fire on a Valley real estate agent as he wrestled with an accused intruder inside his own home. Tonight, Fox 5 Investigates is learning more about the probe examining what happened. Officer Alexander Bookman shot 43-year-old Brandon Durham early last Tuesday morning at his home near Sunset in Eastern. Body camera video shows Durham and that accused intruder struggling with a knife. The officer opened fire, killing Durham. Metro has Bookman on routine administrative leave while it investigates. And Fox 5 Investigates wanted to know how officers go about looking into the actions of one of their own colleagues. Andriana Shepard is here to share what she dug up. Andriana?
I learned this investigative process is not unique to Metro. Many police departments across the country conduct both internal investigations and, if necessary, criminal investigations after an officer's shooting. And these types of probes can take weeks, sometimes months. Metro has a separate bureau dedicated to reviewing deadly force incidents like officer-involved shootings. They look to see if the officer broke any policies and determine if the shooting was justified. Then they give its findings to the Clark County District Attorney's Office. At that point, the DA will decide if charges will be filed against any officers. I reached out to Metro for more insight into this process, but I haven't heard back. If and when they do respond, I'll let you know what they tell us.